All right, welcome into another episode of The Blueprint. We are excited to bring you an episode on the bye week, the Michigan bye week. A lot of great games yesterday, though, DG. So first off, I want to check in. How was your trip to Arizona? And did you catch some of those games yesterday?
I got a lot of them because I got to play on Friday. I was
Oh,
so
you were on
happy.
Friday night. That's right.
Yeah, so they had it rained all day. When I tell you I'd never seen so much rain, like outside my hotel window, it was so much rain you couldn't see past like the window. Like there was nothing you could see. And then the rain would go away and it's like, oh, look at that beautiful mountain right there. And then the rain would come back. They didn't let people in the stadium until like an hour before the game because of the lightning delays and all that. I was terrified because I had a flight at 11:10 and I needed to get out of there on time perfectly and still would have been cutting it close. But God loves me. I mean, he just really does.
Wait,
And so,
11:10 p.m. after the game?
yep. God loves me, and so he made sure that the rain was completely gone. We started on time, finished. Could have finished a little earlier if the officials would get out of the way and stop trying to get camera time. However, got out of there, and I did more running I have ever done in my life in Christian Louboutin shoes. So my feet hurt. However, got home. I'm
Red
here.
eye.
I'm red eye here with you guys.
Are
ready to
you
roll.
a plane sleeper?
I was too jacked up from the game. The game was
Okay.
crazy, so I couldn't sleep. I was too wired, and I had run so much. I needed to take my inhaler a little bit, but yeah, it was great.
Listen.
It was a great weekend.
We had, after the Oregon game, an unbelievable, we call it the getaway car. We got off air at 3:15. The flight was at 3:59. Okay.
Yeah.
It took us an hour and a half. We were at Oregon. That was our second time at Oregon. It took us an hour and a half to get on the highway week one because of the traffic. So this game, we parked off campus and had like golf carts take us. Got to the airport at 3:35. Doors closed at 3:49, and we made it. So you know me, I was what you can only imagine what I was looking like getting on that plane.
You were very wet.
Sweating, but we made it.
I don't know if our fans know that you are the sweatiest human in the history of any sport, any team, any of my teammates ever, any other people that you've been teammates with, any of their teammates.
Yeah.
You are the sweat. You're sweating right now, probably.
Probably. Yeah. No, my house is ice cold because I am a sweater. It's like 65 in here. So I don't think you'd survive.
It's got the frozen tundra over there.
My wife, I feel for her. Yeah. I got to give her all my hoodies.
I'm sure she'll take a cold house rather than sleeping in a wet bed.
Exactly.
That's what it'll be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's great. You know, I wore like 8 pairs of gloves in a game, and I would switch uniforms at halftime. So it was like a NASCAR. Shout out to Big Johnny. Shout out to Gary. Shout out to all the equipment guys. They held it down. All right, before we get into some Michigan talk, we got to preview that. So Penn State, Oregon last night. It's the whiteout. We played in a whiteout. Unbelievable environment. Penn State was favored by 3.5. The big narrative was, can James Franklin finally do it? To me, Dev, this is how I wanted to lead you. They laid it all on the table for James. He's like, hey, we need more resources. So they go out and make Jim Knowles the highest paid defensive coordinator. Hey, we need more resources. So they bring back Drew Allar, Singleton, Allen, O-lineman. They go out in the portal, get receivers. They bring back Denai Dennis Sutton, Zane Durant, Tony Rojas, everybody on the defense. And it wasn't enough. And it didn't matter. And what I'm curious to hear from you, how is it that Drew Allar got worse, that Singleton and Allen got worse, that the passing game didn't look any different with upgraded receivers? Man, what's your takeaway from the Penn State side of that game last night?
Okay, so this is going to be a really honest. It is an opinion. However, if anyone that would go and really watch the film, you'd see the same thing if you've understood football and you know quarterback play and different things like that. Allar has a lot of work to do in the quarterbacking department. And let me explain. He has as much talent as anybody I've ever seen. And I remember him at the Elite 11. Like, he was my dark horse. Like, I'm like, this dude's going to win this competition, right? Just because of the talent, the size, the temperament, right? He's a good kid, all those different things. But I haven't seen the growth that I would want to see from him as a quarterback. And I stumbled upon it this offseason as I was getting ready for Minnesota, right? I'm getting ready for Minnesota. They play Buffalo, right? Want to do as much homework as I can and figure out their defense because their offense is kind of makeshift new with a new quarterback, new receivers. So you're not really going to be able to figure out exactly what's going to happen there. You got to go watch high school stuff. But I want to see what their defense is going to do and how they play. And I just stumbled upon USC, Minnesota, and also Penn State, Minnesota, right? And so I'm watching the USC. I saw USC first. I'm like, man, this Riley Moss kid, like, even though he couldn't perform well because they couldn't block, right? Left tackle was terrible, right? And so they're just getting after him. And so, but his eyes are always in the right place, right? Footwork, eyes, but he can't get the ball there or because he's getting sacked or whatever the case may be. And it's just like, okay, that's encouraging because you want to see, is the quarterback playing quarterback properly? Now, Riley Moss is limited because he can't move around as much, right? So a lot of those things he could have helped, but he couldn't. So that's why you see Jordan Mailata is now the quarterback, right? And then the next film is Penn State, right? And so it's the same defense they're playing against, and it was vastly different for me watching Drew Allar. And it always appeared and seemed like he has no idea where to go with the football. He doesn't know what the defense is trying to do to him. And then as an older quarterback, you expect him to understand these things, and it kind of is going to segue us later on to, Bryce Underwood and how much grace we should have, because this is a fourth-year guy who, or at that point, it was a third-year guy who just isn't seeing the field. And it
I got to ask you, though. I got to ask you because, man, how much of it is system, though, in coaching?
Yeah, I'm getting into that right now.
Okay.
A lot of what I saw on the tape was the hitches were retreat coverage, boom, bang them, know exactly what to do. Kotelnicki, outstanding at designing guys open, right? He is one of the best at designing guys open. And
I didn't see that last night, man.
Well, let me finish.
Okay.
He's one of the best at designing guys open, right? And so on the film, it's like, okay, you got Tyler Warren, and he's finding guys when they are clearly the guy that was supposed to get the ball, right? And as much at home, you probably don't understand that. Most times, you got to go through your reads. You got to find the right guy. Sometimes the good coordinators, they before the play start who is going to be open because of the design of the play, and it usually works when you're that talented of a coordinator and you have that piece like Tyler Warren, right? And so then I go and I just dive in and watch a little bit more, and it's kind of a consistent theme of like, yeah, great when it's open, great when it's designed perfectly, but what about when you need to read through and do all those different things that quarterbacks have to do because the coordinator's up in the box, he's not wearing a helmet. And it seemed like he struggled in that a lot, right? So moving forward now to last night, when you have that, and I've talked about it with Bryce and with other quarterbacks, it's tough for the coordinator. It's hard to just keep designing guys open, and especially when you're older quarterback, like you spoke about, all these guys coming back, you think the next step is taken, right? And so you don't have to do so much. And last night, it looked to me like, firstly, way too much of a filling out process. Especially for Penn State. You have your quarterback back, your running backs back, all these guys back. There's no feeling out. You know who you are. Go play, right? But if you're not doing that, I have to ask why. And because of the things I kind of outlined, I don't think they trust Drew Allar. I don't. I really don't. And when you don't trust your quarterback, but he is your quarterback, there is no replacing him, right? You can't do that. How do you explain that? Because you replace him and then don't play well, then what, right? So he's your quarterback. Maybe hasn't taken the steps that you think he should take, and I just don't know what you do there. And you can see it looked very confusing, I would imagine. You're looking like, wait, good coordinator, great pieces, new people from the transfer portal. Why aren't they using them? And I'm telling you, and this is my opinion, I think that is the reason.
It's certainly part of it. But I want to play devil's advocate here, because on that final play of the game when Thieneman had an interception, when we talk about Kotelnicki's offense being gimmicky, I look at like what that scheme was. And there's no defending 53 and a half or 53 and a third. And I don't know if that's because they don't trust Drew Allar to make full field reads, but all that was a go ball and then 3 separate wheel routes. Like the whole read was, should I throw down the sideline 20 yards, 10 yards, 6 yards, or behind the line of scrimmage? One defender could defend 3 guys, which is why Dylan Thieneman was defending the underneath guy. But because he was in position, he jumped up and made the interception. And then this is where I take it.
Let me address that.
One more thing though.
Go ahead.
Why it's not just Drew. Singleton and Allen were like the freshman All-Americans.
Well, if you can't throw the ball, you can't run the ball if you can't throw the ball. If we know that your quarterback's not going to throw,
if you can't run the ball, like what's the chicken and the egg? That's what I'm saying.
That's the issue, right? We can't run the football because everybody knows, okay, this is what we're going to do because we don't trust the quarterback. So let me address that play. That play is run so much all across college football. I see it almost every week. I love the play, right? Because you got one guy taking off the top, right? So if it's cover 3, you get a guy taking off the top, right? Nobody's in, and then say you got the hook to curl defender. The next guy takes him, and then you got wide open guy. It's everywhere in college football, Big 12, Big 10, SEC, everybody runs it. However, if the defense figures it out on that play on first down,
throw it away.
What are we doing? Right? So we can't blame Kotelnicki because he called a play that always works and that is working all over college football. And we have to give credit to Dan Lanning and that defense. Obviously, they said this could be something they want to run. They have the pieces in place. It's first down. The ball should be chucked into the 17th row. Right? And so that is what I'm explaining. He's not seeing it. Even on a play where, like I talked about, is difficult, that's one of those kind of play designs where you know exactly who you're throwing it to. Right? This is designed because we know what they do, and we are going to hit this guy because that's who's supposed to get it. However, when they stop it, what do? You're a grown-up. You don't throw the ball into the coverage when you see, like, okay, they got us. Sometimes the defense wins. Everybody knows that. No matter how good you think the play is going to work, no matter how many times it worked in practice, sometimes the defense wins. And in overtime, on first down, you cannot. As a grown-up, now, if Bryce Underwood makes this mistake, we're going to come on here and I'm going to have grace. I'm going to have grace. Now, are we going to still critique and make sure that we let him know, hey, that's not okay, he needs to be better? Of course. But a guy who's played as much football at as high a level as Drew Allar has, that is no excuse, and I'm not going to blame Kotelnicki. I'm not. You are a grown-up quarterback. You trust that your quarterback is not going to throw the ball directly to an All-American from a few seasons ago and a preseason All-American. You trust that he's going to recognize that and say, hey, they got us. Let's move on to second down. And so you see that play and everything I kind of outlined, and you're like, let's rethink this. Maybe that is the issue where, okay, we see this pedestrian offense. However, if you don't trust your quarterback, you have to be pedestrian, right? And as much as those running backs are monsters, I'm not going to say that they are significantly worse. However, when you're playing against really good teams, they got a lot of guys in the box. I don't care how. Look at Michigan. We had one run against OU. Other than that, we couldn't run the ball. Guess what? We look at Michigan as a team that can't run the ball? We think they're one of the best in the country, right? But when you're not able to throw the ball, you're not able to do anything.
Penn State hasn't had those long runs though.
I understand that. And let's be clear. When we had that long run against OU, you watched it, I watched it. It's a bust by OU. It's not because we're just great, and that's why the rest of the game was the inability to run the football. However, now you insert an opportunity for Bryce Underwood to do other things, and you see what happened, right? The running game has exploded, and for Penn State, everybody knew what they want to do, period. Everybody knows.
I think,
you have to be able to use your quarterback and throw the football.
I think that's at least definitely part of it. But I just think like this, what really sucks for Penn State fans is I just think this is a bad fit. And I think last year was just like, it's year one and it caught people off guard and it worked. Drew out what you've heard this. Bo Prabula at Missouri right now runs around and he's a playmaker as much as he is quarterback. That's where you called Daniels when he was in Kotelnicki's system at Kansas. This system requires a playmaker because if that play break down, Daniels can just run it too rather than throw it away. He'll just make a play and then those receivers will get open off schedule. I think Drew is a pro style quarterback. He's clearly not a first round pick anymore. He came back and cost him. If he left after last year, I bet he would have snuck in the first round.
Jay, you say first round, you say pro style quarterback in what way? Right? Because first round, no.
I think if he played in Michigan system, he would thrive. I think if he played in Michigan system, he would thrive. If he was in play action, rip the ball off play action, 7-step drop, and not have to do some of this gimmicky stuff, I think he would be so much better.
Pro style quarterback, and I just want to be clear. Kotelnicki stuff is not all gimmicky. He has those plays just like every other coordinator.
It's not all gimmicky, but it's very gimmicky.
And why? Why?
Because
I'm just telling you, I don't care who the coordinator is.
That's what works in the Big 12.
I don't care who the coordinator is. If your quarterback's a dude, you don't gimmick. You don't need to. Period.
So then why'd they hire Kotelnicki then? Because that's who he is.
They hired Kotelnicki because they don't think their quarterback is a dude.
I think it's probably I think it's both. Because Kotelnicki isn't just going to change his scheme, man. Like this is a completely different scheme. Like Kotelnicki came in, that was what we were talking about all last year. He called it Dairy Queen. It's the vanilla ice cream with the seasoning on top or chocolate.
So this is where I'm confused, Jake. Okay, he has innovative.
This is a great. Here we go.
Let's
you guys got to tune into some Penn State talk. Here we go.
He has innovative things, right? Different things. Why are we saying that he's gimmicky, but then Ben Johnson gets to be the head coach, right? Right. And hold on, time out. The Lions, their coordinator right now, doing a lot of those things. Like that is what football is now, right? You can't just run at people every single play. You have to have some of those elements in your offense, and I think he does a really good job. But if you can't, when you're just not being given, when you're not clearly designing guys open, when you're not doing that, can your quarterback make the plays, right? And that's where Caleb Williams is trying to learn that, right? Because a lot of stuff is like, man, what is Ben Johnson doing? Well, Caleb's not hitting the regular plays. So all the gimmicky stuff looks crazy and you got to do too much of it, right? Before the Lions, Jared Goff would go and not throw an incompletion. So yeah, we can start to do, you know what I mean? Like
there's the Lions to me, that's a pro style run first system that sprinkles in gimmicks that complement their pro style scheme. Like it's a built offense. I just see bodies going all over the place laterally for Penn State like that. And it's just like, where are they going and what are you trying to accomplish? This is what I'm saying with gimmicks. Tell me this makes sense. Why they have Drew Allar in shotgun and Singleton to his left, claps, and then they jump to the right. Singleton becomes quarterback and fakes a handoff to Drew Allar. That's gimmick. Who thinks Drew Allar is taking a handoff? That is just a wasted rep.
That's just
there's too much of that.
Time out.
Tell me that's a gimmick.
If you would be quiet, I would tell you.
Is that a gimmick?
That is nothing but Wildcat, but they just gave window dressing to try to hide it. What are we talking? Are we mad at Wildcat now?
No, but what that's wasted window rep because you're not handing the ball off to Drew Allar.
What is wasted window dressing? What does that mean?
Because
the play hasn't started.
You know what I mean? No one's thinking you're going to hand the ball off to Drew Allar. Now, if it was Bryce, maybe because Bryce is a great athlete. No one's thinking you're handing the ball off to Drew Allar.
Let me ask you a question. What's the difference between fake handing it to him or just him not being there? What's the difference? Maybe one guy on defense might be stupid and think, oh, maybe he might be getting it.
Okay, I'll tell you the difference. Because what sometimes happens is the quarterback, what that is a timing thing. You want to get give your O-line time to block.
Exactly.
Okay, so why not have Drew Allar to the left and have Singleton pretend to pump it? Like I've seen that happen.
So you think they won't believe he's going to get it, but you think he's going to throw it to him?
Yes, because that gives you the threat of a double pass. There's an actual threat to defend. Whereas handing the ball off to Drew Allar is irrelevant. That's not a threat. That's why I'm saying it's just wasted.
You want your running back.
No one thinks they're handing it off to Drew Allar.
So what you do, you saying this is gimmicky. You want your running back catch the ball. He has to pump a backward pass and then turn his eyes back to try to run and find where his guard's going.
I'd say no. I don't want him to do any of this stuff. I don't want him to do any of it. But I'm saying right now, it's just so gimmicky. It's just, Jim's offense, run the ball. Play action. We're going to sprinkle in some wide receiver reverses, some sweeps, definitely some flea flickers, but we know exactly who we are. I can't tell you who Penn State is. I can't.
They want to be a team that has a veteran quarterback that will not throw a pass into a design play that didn't work.
I mean, sure. Okay. So that was his mistake. But like the rest of the day, like go, let's see how often these guys were open. They really weren't. They really weren't. NBC was showing it. I'm like, man, these guys aren't open.
I would love for you to dive in and really look and see how many times there was like a gimmicky play, right? Because we have these isolated that we're talking about. But if you go watch that entire game, it's just not the case.
Okay.
It's just not the case. Just those glaring ones that you see of like, oh, I'm sick of this. And it's just like, well, let's really do our homework and go look. How many times? I bet you maybe 4 or 5 at the most in an entire football game. That's not gimmicky. And then I want you to watch again and say,
offense.
I want you to watch again and say, how many times is the quarterback have his eyes where they're supposed to be?
The thing is I'm not saying it's only one or the other. I'm saying that there's gimmicks and Drew is missing things, but I just don't think Drew is built to run this offense either.
Yeah, maybe he's not built to run any offense that has to read the defense.
I mean, maybe. I don't know.
Like, maybe that's we can't keep continually with all quarterbacks. And this is not Drew. Like I said, I love Drew. I love his talent, all that.
I do too. He's great.
We cannot continue to just be enamored with how talented a guy is. That, if you know more than anybody, that doesn't matter. How many guys have you seen, not even just that quarterback, that are the most talented? It's more. You have to give more. It has to be more. And if your only skill is that you are super duper ultra most talented, what are we doing? That's not enough. It's not. Yeah. It's not. And that's why we continue to push for Bryce to be better and learn more. And this bye week has been great because just being talented, no matter who you are, unless you're like Deion Sanders, but I've learned, he was pretty much a student too. Like, unless you're like, I don't really see an opportunity for you to just be talented anymore. It's too many people that are also talented that also work really, really hard and learn all the things they need to learn. So it's just difficult for me. And you saw an example of that with Dante Moore. Is Dante Moore more talented than the 6'5" strong arm guy?
Yes.
If you roll the football out, Allar's going to throw it 70.
Sure, but
Dante Moore's not going to do that.
Dante gives you the legs. Dante's more accurate with the ball. I think he throws a tighter spiral.
And
Drew, I see so many ducks coming from Drew's hand.
Those are
one long throw. I'll take Drew, but Dante's more talented as a quarterback.
You're thinking of things that you worked really hard at, and I'm talking about the gifts that you were given when you were born. When I say talent, right?
I mean, Dante Moore, size, sure, but like
height, size, strength. Speed, Dante Moore worked really hard to become an accurate passer.
They both worked hard.
So Drew Allar worked hard to be strong and big?
No, but did Dante work hard to be fast? Did Dante work hard to be naturally accurate? Like they both worked the same. They've had the same amount of time.
I don't think you're watching. I think you're really a prisoner of the moment right now. Dante Moore worked really hard to be a good runner. He's not fast, but he did work really hard. He's not the naturally born fast. And we don't know why I'm telling you this. I'm telling you this because I've known him since he was 10 and 9. Let's be clear. He worked really hard to become a good runner and have some speed. Is he a fast quarterback when you look at the landscape of college football? No, he's not. However, his ability to play the game, feel the game, understand when he needs to speed up, understand when he needs to slow down, those aren't things that you're just born with. He worked really, really hard to have those things. For Drew Allar, his talent, his ability to just be big, his ability to throw the ball a country mile, those aren't things that you develop, right? You usually just are born with some of those things.
Throwing the ball a country mile, you're born with. Throwing the ball a country mile, some dude, that a lot of that's being born with it. That's what I just said. That's what I'm saying.
Are you listening? I literally just said that's what he has.
So, but that's what you're saying you'd take him for. You said if you just roll the ball out.
No, I didn't say that. You just made that up.
You roll the ball out.
We're on video record. I did not say that I would choose him. You said I would choose him. I didn't say that. We can rewind it. We can rewind it. I said if you roll the balls out, his talent is what he was born with. His size, his ability to throw it down the field. For Dante Moore, all his gifts are gifts that he earned and developed over time. And you're like saying he's fast. When you look at Dante Moore, that's not what you say. But guess what? If you watched last night, you'll see he knows and has a feel of understanding when to speed up, when to use everything he's got to make the play that needs to be made. That's not something that you're just born. Oh, he's just born being able to do that. He worked really hard to be able to learn to do all those things. And when you're born 6'5", big arm, you don't have to learn that stuff, right? Because your whole life, for the most part, you're big, you're strong, and you can lean on that. Dante Moore's never been the biggest. He's never been the fastest. He's never had the strongest arm. He worked really hard to become the most accurate. Those are things that he worked for, and that's the difference.
All right, we're going to step aside for our first break here. You got it, man. I mean, listen, you've been to the Elite 11. You've seen these guys. I'll take your word for it. I'm just trying to have the discussion at the end of the day. So subscribe, like. You're going to get the full debate here, not just Michigan talk. We're going to go back and forth because Penn State news and Oregon news, it's Big Ten news, it's Michigan news. But on the other side of the break, we will get back to Michigan talk. We'll preview the Wisconsin game. Are the Michigan Wolverines in trouble? I don't think so. But we'll talk about it on the other side. This is The Blueprint. All right, welcome back into The Blueprint. He is Devin Gardner. I am Jake Budd. And as promised, we told you we would preview the upcoming game. Coming off a bye, Michigan will be hosting the Wisconsin Badgers in Ann Arbor. I believe it's a big noon kickoff. The whole big noon crew will be there. Man, Devin, to put it lightly, it's rough up there in Wisconsin right now. Luke Fickell, I mean, they're injured. Billy Edwards was their go-to guy. He's injured. Now it's O'Neal, a guy that you know from the Elite 11. Man, what are you expecting, if anything, from the Badgers this week?
Yeah, I mean, it's really tough because Luke Fickell's a really good football coach. However, his approach, I don't think he fully understood what Wisconsin was and how they got where they are and what the fans expect, right? Obviously, they expect to win. He knows that, but as far as the way they want to see it done, right? He comes in, he has a air raid style offensive coordinator, and it doesn't work, right? So if it had worked, right, it would be fine. And I kind of liken it back to when Rich Rod came in, right, where he had years where they had one of the best offenses in the country, but we're not winning. And we're not winning, and though it seems like we're getting close and we're almost there, you're not winning, and this is not what we want to see. We don't want to see throwing it every single play or doing all these different things, right? We want to see it look the way we want to see it look, especially if we're losing, right? And so for Wisconsin, they didn't look the way they wanted it to look. And then you get rid of that guy, now it's turnover, right? So turnover plus a different quarterback every year. He's been like, it's just a lot of the perfect storm to look like a really bad coach, right? And right now, it looks like they aren't the most well-coached team. Not to mention, I don't think they have the athletes to deal with what they were about to experience from that Michigan defense. This game is going to be, in my opinion, it looks like it might be a bludgeoning, right? Mm-hmm. Because what the defense is able to do with Barham, the guys on the edge, Moore, all those different guys, and then the linebacker play and those young corners continuing to grow up, right? And I don't know if I said this last week, but it feels like those years Michigan State, when they had that great front seven and it allowed those corners to have grace in their growth, right? And it made it appear that they had really good corners. And I think that Michigan actually does have really good corners, but they still need to be grown up, and they're allowed to do that. And I think this is just another peg, right? Another notch on the belt of being able to grow those guys up without true pressure of really being beat over the top or beaten man-to-man coverage and different things like that. They can make some mistakes, right? Oh, that guy beat me on that route. He was open. Quarterback can never even get to it, right? So I think that's going to be a great opportunity. And with that, the opportunity on offense, right? A bye week is instrumental. It is great for you to learn new things about yourself by self-scouting and watching the film, and then also to just shore up some things that you may not be doing that you want to do in the games. And so for Bryce Underwood, I think it's going to be a breakout performance. And I'm honestly sitting here saying right now today that the 450 and the 503 passing, the top two performances that I had, they are in jeopardy. Because I think that this bye week might have allowed him to get even more comfortable. Maybe even that 586 of total offense because of the way he's running the football, that might be in jeopardy as well, because I feel like Wisconsin is kind of reeling.
Yeah, they're just a program that, initially I would defend Coach Fickell and say they were caught in transition. Like, of course, it was going to have to take time going from a complete pro style to an air raid. That was never going to work overnight. Yeah. But there hasn't been progress. And right now, I agree with you, Dev. Like, it feels like they're a program that doesn't know who they are. And I think they play as almost like they feel snake bitten. And why I think Michigan can put up so many yards is I don't expect any type of offensive output from Wisconsin. For 3 years now, they started out with Tanner Mordecai. They were all excited about him. He gets hurt right away. Then they bring in Van Dyke. They were excited about him. He gets hurt right away. Then they bring in Billy Edwards from Maryland, and he gets hurt before the season even starts, really. Like he's just never been able to be healthy. On top of the offensive line, on top of the lack of run game, it feels like if I'm Wink Martindale, I'm looking at our defensive line and saying, guys, I don't need to bring extra pressure. It's on you. Win this game. So let's not even have to get cute today. Let's win this game up front. And then for Michigan, it's the same thing, a chance for Bryce coming off a bye to take that next step. But I think, as we talked about, it's not just on Bryce. I want to see the other receivers take a next step. Hey, Samaj, man, you've been in this offense for a few years. You're getting more opportunities. You've made some plays. Let's get close to perfect. Goodwin, let's get close to perfect. Andrew Marsh, the freshman, chance to catch your breath on that first bye week. Let's see you transcend past being just a freshman talented playmaker. So I'd say across the board for the offense, I've been pleased with Chip Lindsey. I've been pleased with Bryce. I want to see those other 10 guys step up, though.
Yeah, 100%. And what people at home have to understand is this bye week is perfect. It comes at the perfect time for Michigan, right? Because they've seen themselves play really well. They've seen themselves play really bad offensively. And with these young guys, you have to remember, their head is spinning. You got class. You got all these different things that they've never experienced in their lives that they're just experiencing for the first time. Oh, and also, there's 100,000 people watching your game live, right? And not to mention the amount of people that are watching at home, especially since it's going to be on Big Noon this week. And so the pressure, the expectation, all those different things have been on these young players. And so they finally get a break, right? They get a break to breathe, like you said, catch their breath for a week. And so you think you would think you would see a renewed kind of motivation, I guess, to come out and really perform well. Not to mention the competition, I don't think is at the level that will suggest that you need to be your absolute best, right? You just need to make sure you do the things that you've been doing. So I'm really excited to see these young guys get an opportunity. Marsh is the one that it's so funny because I have Michigan State this week.
He's got potential, man.
I got Michigan State this week, and their Marsh is really good.
Oh, yeah.
Marsh, which should be a Michigan. We're not going to talk about that. But this young kid has real potential. I remember talking to people in the building, and they just glowed about him in so many ways. And it's just like, you haven't heard guys talk about receivers like this. The last time I heard them talk about a receiver like this, and you know what he's doing now, Nico Collins. Right, and if you remember, Nico Collins didn't play a lot early, right? And I haven't seen enough of Marsh to see the skill set if he's the same. But the way they talk about him is his ceiling is so high. Remember, Nico Collins didn't play a lot early, and I would go to the games, right? And I would walk on the side. I'm like, who is this big dude? Spatted up. I mean, this dude looks like a monster. Who is he, and why isn't he playing? And they're like, man, he just can't stay healthy, right? I think he had some ankle injuries, different things like that. Well, eventually, that subsided, and he popped, right? And once he popped, it was beautiful to see, and we can see what he is. I would say arguably a top 10 wide receiver, maybe even a little higher in the NFL. He's getting paid like a top 5 or 6 receiver. So that potential and the way they talk about him, that's what I hear. That's what it sounds like, right? So I want to see that pop. And I don't want to wait until a few years when like Nico had to wait because of his injury. I want to see him pop early, and we've seen some flashes making plays. You can see that he's chomping at the bit, right? He has a competitive fire, a competitive juice, and I think it's going to be really cool to see when it happens. But the potential is there, and now you got to cash in on it.
Yeah, that Nico Collins is actually a great comp because they're very similar size. They have similar movement patterns, body types, similar playing styles. Now, Nico Collins, like you said, guys, we're going to make $250 million in his career after his next contract. I mean, he's a stud. Andrew Marsh is more potential. But when you look at like the schedule too, hey, this is a game, again, no offense to the Badgers, Michigan should win this game. But then they enter a tough 2-game stretch going on the road to USC and hosting Washington at home. 2 dangerous teams. I think Michigan should feel good. They should win those games. They're winnable games. But they're going to need a guy like Marsh to step up. So when you talk about the young aspect, coming off a bye in a game that you should win, if I'm Sharon and Chip Lindsey, I want Andrew Marsh to play 60 reps in this game and just go learn, make mistakes, because we're going to need you next week, the week after, and down the stretch of the season. And the same is true for the secondary, because we know USC with Lincoln Riley and those receivers, Washington with Damon Williams and Denzel Boston, those receivers, we cannot be saying, oh, Michigan's secondary is young in those matchups either.
They've got to grow up quickly. And like I said, that defensive line is doing a great job to help them. But like the onslaught that they're going to, they're about to play two quarterbacks that move similar to the one they played against at OU, right?
Yeah.
Maybe not as electric. Could be close though. Could be close. And Maeva, I've really loved to see his development. Right, he's a different quarterback from a year ago. Completely different quarterback. And obviously the young guy at Washington, Elite 11 guy who has a chip on his shoulder and a poise beyond his years. His ability to run the football is what makes him so dangerous, right? And Ohio State put a nice tape out there on how to slow him down, how to make sure they corral him. Although he's an adequate passer, his superpower is the ability to break the game as a runner. They shut him down, right? So you think when you look at Ohio State's defense, outstanding. When you look at Michigan's defense, I think they're right there, right? So they should be able to steal some from that and do that as well. So you want to feel good going into those games. You want to feel good. You want to feel good about traveling across the country to play a USC team that is much improved defensively and on offense. I think they are too because of the added element of a new quarterback that can move around, make all the plays, and make all the throws. And he's really impressive. So you handle business, right? They're supposed to win. They should win. The line is probably going to be double digits. They should get it done, and I'm excited to see it.
No doubt. And this next 3-game stretch is going to really, I mean, it'll effectively decide Michigan's season because with the one loss, you don't have much room for error going into the playoffs. Great for them to go on the road and win a tough game at Nebraska going into the bye because we can have this conversation. But these next 3 games, we'll learn everything we need to know. All right, we're going to step aside for our final break. We asked you guys for questions, and you delivered. DG and I will answer those questions on the Blueprint. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe and give us some more questions down in the comments so we can keep coming to you. We'll see you on the other side of the break. All right, welcome back to the Blueprint. As we talked about, we asked, you guys delivered a couple great questions from the fans out there. We can only get to 3 of them today, but would love to hear from you guys in the future. Devin, you said you had to, you wanted to kind of lay it out. What is your
guys? Here's a disclaimer. Here's a disclaimer. They're not really rules, suggestions, right? Let's not make it a 7-minute long video. Let's not. let's not make it that. Let's not have noise in the background, like things like that, right? If you want to just type out questions, we'll have one typed. We'll have one that's just a voice note. We'll have one that's video. If you want to get your face on here, we'll put you on here. But the video's got to be at least serviceable. This is entertainment, baby. We can't just put anything out there, right? We're not expecting you to have the perfect lighting of Jake and myself and the different tools that we have. However, that video has to be serviceable.
It's show business.
Can't wait to get it on here. It's just business. It's show business.
Hey, but for now, we just appreciate the effort. But of course, going forward, that's a disclaimer. All right, let's get to the first question.
Hey guys, this is Kevin. I'm messaging you guys from New York City. So overjoyed you guys are doing this show. 2 of my favorite Wolverines of all time. I'm a similar age as DG, so I loved watching you in person so much. And Jake, I got out to see you a bit too. And I just love how your careers are evolving after playing. You guys are both great at everything you do. My question is about halftime adjustments. It's kind of a truism in football that certain teams, certain coaches are better at halftime adjustments than others. Oh, this team's going to come out better in the second half because of their adjustments. But I heard Peyton Manning on his Monday night show say that he has no idea what people are talking about. He never did adjustments in his career. So my question is, are halftime adjustments real? Are certain coaches better than them than others? What's sort of the deal behind that? Thanks. Love the show.
DG?
Well, Peyton's not wrong. You don't know why he's not wrong? Because he's not a coach. The coaches are the ones that do it, right? So what Peyton is talking about is from his experience. And I just remember there were some conversations about what we have and what we want to do. And it's basically from the plan that you've already laid out, right? It's not necessarily overhaul new things. And I think that's where fans might get it confused of like halftime adjustments. Oh, yeah, we're bringing things out of the woodshed of like new stuff. It's like, no, it's based off of the plan we had. Now, there are times where the plan you had was just terrible and you have to completely overhaul, and you're probably going to lose that game anyway, right? But usually it's just adjustments to different things, and that's the meeting the coaches have. So let's talk about what happens when you go to halftime. You don't meet with the coaches immediately, right? They go and they have conversations. They talk about whatever. Honestly, I don't know what they talk about, right? Because we're not in those meetings, right? You go, you sit at your locker, you do whatever you need to do. A lot of it is similar to pregame. You get back in a great space. Then you bring it all up, right? Defense goes that way, offense goes that way. And then you kind of talk about what are the things we want to do when we go back out there, right? So for us as players, it's not technically us making adjustments. It's the coaching staff letting us know what they're seeing and what we're going to be doing going out again. But I hope to God they have made adjustments. And it's very clear in games. You can see that coaches that make adjustments, which they do, those are the better coaches. And you can see it very glaringly in the game. Now, there are times where you play so good, it's like, hey, let's go back with that same opening 15, right? Let's go back and do that again. Or you're played so bad, it's like we have to scrap everything we're trying to do. And like I said, in those instances, it's not often that you come out on the winning side. So he's right, but it's because he's never been the coach.
So, yeah, I mean, I think Peyton said this too. Like, think about it when you're sitting in the stadium and you see halftime go up, that's a 20-minute clock. And it takes about 2 to 3 minutes to get back to the locker room, another minute to get settled down, another few minutes before the coaches come in. But then you have to leave with like 5 minutes left to go get warmed up again. So of that 20, you're like in the locker room for maybe 8 minutes. You're going to get fueled up. That's a time to get a snack, hydration, get retaped. I'm with you, Dev. Like there's never really a sweeping major adjustment, which is what I think most fans are asking when they ask this question.
Why are they running this formation that they did in the first half? I thought they made adjustments.
But what you might see is at halftime, hey, we're not getting Jeremy Gallen has 1 target and 1 catch. We need hey, coach, get your best 5 plays. We need to get Jeremy the ball right away. Or, hey, like we're not getting enough pressure on the quarterback. Hey, Wink, are we sending enough pressure? That's the extent of it, but you're not developing a new playbook. Now, Dev, tell them about the most you'll ever do. They do put up a rack of plays on so tell them about that. That's the most you'd get, but it's not adjustment.
Yeah, I mean, it's usually just for the quarterback, really. And it sucks because it's like, well, what about everybody else? Well, I'm the one that needs to be comfortable. So, Devin, what do you like? Right. And it could be maybe I'm struggling in the first half. And it's like, hey, what do you like from the plays that we've repped? And because the thing is, you go in with all of these plays, but you don't use them all in the first half. You sometimes don't get to some plays the entire game. Right. So you have a rack of plays. It's like, OK, you didn't feel comfortable with those plays. What do you like here? Right. And then you have always those ones that are day one of camp where, hey, those plays we can play anytime, whether we repped it in practice or not, because these are our base plays. We can get to those. What do you like to make you play better? Also, when you're playing really good, it's like, hey, do you still like this? Right? Do you want to continue here? Right? Do we get into the other things that we had planned? And so, it like you said, there's never a complete overhaul. And I know everybody's listening to Peyton, and everybody probably lost their mind. Like, what is he talking about? Like, for all the years I've ever watched football, I knew that there were adjustments, and the better coaches that are better at adjustments, they make those changes. Another thing that's different now is having those iPads. So a lot of the adjustment is on the field, on the fly.
That's great. Yeah.
You don't have to wait to get into the locker room to have a conversation with the entire group of coaches on what happened. We all watched it on the iPad. We know what we need to do, and we've been making adjustments. And the coaches that were great at halftime adjustments before these iPads were entered into the conversation, those guys are the ones that are really good at making those in-game adjustments before you even get to halftime.
Yeah. No, it's I think you made a great point to start it is, like, you go into a week with a game plan, you never go beyond that game plan. You might just subtly move within that game plan. And that comes from talking to your players, talking to the coaches. The best thing for halftime is you get a little bit of a break to come together with space to talk, but no major adjustments. We got a few more questions.
Like you said, though, it's 20 minutes, right? So just so people know, it takes a week to build a game plan.
Right.
You only got 20 minutes, and most of that time is walking to the locker room, in the coaches' meeting, coming down from the booth, like all those things. So just know, it's not that much time. There's no way they're making an entirely new game plan because that takes a ton of time to do.
Yep. All right, we got another one. We got some Heisman talk. It's that time of year, so let's get to our next question.
Hey, Jake and Devin. I'm a big Michigan fan. I love your guys' show. I've been watching it since day one. I especially love you guys. You're two of my favorite Michigan players of all time. And I was wondering what your guys' take was on Justice Haynes for Heisman. Do you think there's a real possibility for that? Or, do you think he should be in the race now? What are your guys' takes? And go Blue.
All right, Devin, I'm gonna lead you in here. Reggie Bush won the Heisman back in 2005, so that's been 20 years since then. Let's go through this. How many non-quarterbacks have won the Heisman since? Mark Ingram in 2009. You have Derrick Henry in 2015. Devontae Smith in 2020, and then Travis Hunter last year. So 4 in 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
2 running backs. I love Justice Haynes. And I think there's some running backs. It's a hard draw. It's become a quarterback award. So maybe you have a better opinion on this. What do you think? Does Haynes got a chance?
He always has a chance. The way he's running the football right now, 66 carries, 537, 6 touchdowns, 8 yards a carry. Obviously, they're going to have to feed him a bunch, which I think they're going to do naturally, not because to try to get him the Heisman. He is the offense. He's exactly what you need, especially with a young quarterback, right? So they're going to lean into that. The one issue that you'll have is, one, he's sharing carries, right? So when you think about the running backs that won it before, they weren't sharing carries, right? And though he's getting the bulk of the carries, that he's sharing a lot more than they had to, right? Excluding Reggie Bush, who his electricity came from catching passes as well. We don't see that from Haynes, right? So it's hard as a pure just running back where you don't really catch out of the backfield a whole bunch to get the necessary stats if you're splitting carries and or sharing carries. So I think that that'll make it tough. However, he always has a chance. And if Michigan goes on a tear, first of all, this is Michigan. That blocking means something, right? That blocking means something. So if he goes on a tear where he has, the necessary stats, right? That's first going to give him a real opportunity to win it. And Michigan has to be winning. Yeah. Right. So Michigan wins all their games going in Ohio State, right? The reason they're winning, obviously defense, but this guy is running the football on a level that we just haven't seen. And we've seen some really good running backs. Blake Corum, obviously.
Yep.
Then he goes in Ohio State and he has a Biaka Patuka type performance, right? One where it's just like, this is Michigan. He's the reason. They just beat Ohio State. We can't deny him. Now we got action, right? Yeah. I think he'll have a real opportunity, but the business of every single game has to be won. If he has a loss on the resume, I don't think that there's a chance that they give a Heisman Trophy to a running back who doesn't have not an undefeated record technically, because we all saw what happened against OU. However, 2 losses, running back, just doesn't seem likely because of how biased they are with giving the award to quarterbacks.
Yeah, so I agree. So it's a team award too. So it's on Haynes. Haynes needs the team to succeed. The good thing is those things are mutually related. The better Haynes plays, the more likely Michigan is to win. Say he helps lead the team to beat Ohio State. That means they go to the Big Ten championship, and then he has a chance to do it again. Then it's Heisman talk. I believe Justice Haynes will do everything within his power to give himself a chance at the Heisman. The other piece of this, though, is he would need some help from non-quarterbacks. Dante Moore is putting together quite the resume. Simpson, the quarterback from Bama, is putting together quite the resume. A lot of quarterbacks Klubnik was a preseason Heisman, maybe Carson Beck with the way that team's playing. But this might be a year where things get messy, that it could be a year for a running back, but he needs some help beyond just his play.
He needs a Dante Moore to have a kind of a stinker at some point.
Or maybe to meet him in the Big Ten champ game, right? And
right, then you get to see him head-to-head, and the voters can see, okay, well, I watched him play. That guy's better right now. You know what I mean? So that he will need help for sure.
Yeah, but we're rooting for him. I love that we're asking the question. Some of this is propaganda, and we can look back at it and say we're getting the propaganda. The media tour started on Justice Haynes right now. So Justice Haynes, you better make sure you like and subscribe to the show too. Maybe show us some love on social. All right, DG, we got one more question here. We'll pull it up. This one was a DM to our Instagram account, the Blueprint UM. You guys go ahead and follow us on all social platforms at the Blueprint UM and send us some messages too. All right, questions for the podcast for both of you, Devin. Start with you. Who is one player from either before or after your time at Michigan that you wish you could have played with? Let's start there.
Charles Woodson, no question.
I would say Charles Woodson too. Yeah.
To be able to watch him, what he does defensively, get the smack talk that you give in practice, and then have him be on your side and be able to talk smack to the defense, I think that would be awesome.
He's got,
not to mention he's just a cool dude.
Becoming
friends with him now, I can't imagine how cool he was back then. It's amazing.
Beast. I would say maybe I'll give some love to Steve Hutchinson. I just think, another guy, I believe he's in the Pro and College Football Hall of Fame now too. So we got some depth there. A lot of great names to choose from, but this is one I was interested in hearing from you too, Devin. So which game in your career was the most satisfying? You got the record-setting game against IU, under the lights against Notre Dame, almost beating Ohio State with a broken foot, or something else? The floor is yours.
Ohio State would be my pick, because as you know, you need your feet, and breaking it on the first drive of the second half is not conducive to success. However, we got really close, but we didn't win the game, so I can't pick that one, or else that will be it. And it's actually none of those names. It's Northwestern. It's Northwestern 2012. My first start in the big house as a quarterback. Obviously, I'd started games as a wide receiver in that same year, but first start as a quarterback. We're in the game. We're playing well. I'm playing well. The team's playing well. Defense playing well. We're in a dogfight like we always are against Northwestern because for whatever reason, it just was always so tough there or at home. I throw a pick pretty much to lose the game. It was kind of like the play we talked about that Allar throws an interception on with the wheel and the thing. And Devin, he looks wide open and he is not wide open. Safety comes way over the top, picks it off, and then that leads to me having to throw a Hail Mary. I completed my first and only Hail Mary in my career, and then that sent it into overtime and got the game-winning touchdown. But the most satisfying thing, aside from the first career start there and all that stuff, most of my family members left the game after I threw that pick, and most of the fans did too because they thought it was over. And they're on the street leaving, and they hear the roar of the crowd, and that's how they found out. They are basically almost at my apartment. That's how they found out how I won the game and they missed it. So that's pretty satisfying. You know, I thought that was hilarious.
Did you get on your family members?
No, that's their loss, right? It's one of the greatest. It's the greatest. I completed Hail Mary. You know how that feels. I mean, it's amazing.
That was the least of your worries.
I don't care. That's on you. So,
okay, good deal.
But those other games were very cool too. Under lights, 98, Indiana set all choices.
Yeah.
Or for you, Jake. Was the intent to deceive play against Rutgers in 15 setting up for something else later in that season?
Dev, did you see a few weeks ago Oklahoma scored that touchdown against Auburn? There was that hideout trick play. Did you see that?
I heard about it. I didn't see
it. So it was very similar. Basically, to bear this, this was not setting something up later in the season. Though every trick play, there's an element of forcing teams to prepare for it later in the season. But there's not much of a story other than this. Is every week the head coach meets with the officials. They go over a few trick plays and a few things they see on film and say, hey, officials, watch out for this. We think so-and-so holds, or this guy jumps off on the snap early, or da-da-da, whatever it is. But then every week that season, we had this play installed where I would pretend we had a substitution issue, and then I'd jog off late as if I was going to go to the sidelines, and I'd stop, look at Jim, the ball would snap, and I'd run down the sidelines. Every week leading up to Rutgers games, the officials said, no, we would flag that. No, we would flag that. That's illegal. That's illegal. Finally, in that Rutgers game, the officials gave Coach Harbaugh the green light and said, yes, this is good. Go. We ran it, snapped it. I caught it. I got hawked, Devin. I did get hawked, so I got tackled. It was an explosive. It should have been a touchdown, but I got hawked. And then they threw the flag, intent to deceive.
Wait, they threw a flag afterward?
They threw the flag. Oh yeah. After all this happened, this is crazy. I got to send it to you. It was a big deal because the officials threw a flag and they were huddling, and I think they were just huddling on they didn't know what the penalty was. So it was
the official was probably saying, he's probably like, guys, I told him they could do that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, one of them was saying that. Yeah. But they said they threw a flag and he said personal foul, and then there was a pause. He's like, intent to deceive on the offense. And then we would always say, like, every play has an intent to deceive. That's
exactly what football is. Just like the sign stealing. Remember that?
Yeah,
guys,
exactly.
That's what everybody does. That's what you do.
It kind of saved me though, because everyone on the sideline was like, you better not get hawked on this play. But you know me, I don't got breakaway speed. So once I got hawked, everyone was then talking about the penalty rather than how slow I look running down the sideline.
And another thing, it saves you because once it's a penalty, basically that play doesn't count.
Right.
So it's never going to be played on highlights or anything like that. Nobody cares. Like everybody's like, oh, fine, that play is gone. However, you should thank the ref. You should write him a note. Because you would have to live with that. And nobody got a chance to attack you because of it. It's like, hey, we got to move on. Next play. No, you know what I mean? No harm, no foul.
It was close. That was my only 100-yard. I had a few close calls, but I did break 100 yards that day against Rutgers. So I was, if I needed that to get over 100, I would have been pissed at them, but I got them. So I will go back. Maybe I'll write them a letter and say,
hey man, listen guys, thank you, because I didn't have to deal with the ridicule that would have come with me getting run down.
Yeah. Hey, well, that was awesome, man. I enjoyed that. We enjoyed hearing from you guys with the questions. We really appreciate it. back to regular scheduled program next week with Michigan taking on Wisconsin. If it does get ugly, we'll still bring good, beautiful, great content just like we did today. So,
and ways to improve. Remember, because they play good does not mean we won't have gripes. And I'm sure fans will list too. And remember, you come here for perspective, right? So when they're playing great, perspective. When they're playing bad, perspective. You really need that, right? So just come back. And how do they find us, Jake? I can't remember.
Blueprint UM, X, Instagram, everywhere on social, here on YouTube, the Blueprint. But like DG said, there's a standard, and we're going to hold our boys to that standard because we believe in them. Would love to see them back in the Big Ten Championship or the playoffs. That's the standard. So we appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll see you next week on the Blueprint.